guys, Liko here, back with a brand new Pokemon Horizons review. Now, this episode's all about me, so let's just get right into that video. And Pokemon trainers, remember to like, subscribe, share, and more, and leave a comment about your thoughts on my incredible battle.
Your battle wasn't good, Liko.
Shut the hell up, Roy! Now, let's kick it into action.
Alright, I don't know what that just was, but let's get right into the review. Episode starts off with basically them walking up more of the mountain from last week because Roy completed his test and it's now time for Liko to do her test. And as we know from the games, Grusha's gym is pretty close, but it's near the top of the mountain. They're all walking there. Dot almost passed out because of how cold it is and she's getting weak, and she sees an angel, but it's actually a Citadel. The gang sees this area's famous Citadel sledding, which I think it's nice to see, like that aspect of the gym challenge with the sledding where you had to do it with Maridon gets brought up, and Roy and Dot really want to do it. But Liko's like, I want to focus on my gym challenge, guys. It's my gym challenge time. But then Florigato and Terrapago was like, let's do it, Liko, let's do it, mommy. And then like she's like, oh, now I gotta do it. So she like gets ready for the battle, and Grusha's busy, so she's just like, they all do it. They all go sledding. We all see like little cute aspects of each of their characters and their bonds with their Pokemon. We see Roy and Coco blast their way through a snow pile. Quacklevel saves Dot from falling. Liko and Citadel also save Terrapagos from falling off the Citadel. And she says, I'll get back in the bag, my sweet little precious. My sweet little precious baby, get back in the bag, Terrapagos. Get in the bag, Terrapagos. But yeah, we also get, I think this is the most hilarious, the funniest joke, I think, in a while from Liko, where they almost hit a group of Snom, and she was like, whoa, what was that? And the Pokédex just comes out, that was Snom, the bug and ice type Pokemon. She's like, shut the hell up, I didn't ask you. She didn't say shut the hell up. She said, I didn't ask you. Which I think that's so funny. And I just love that I don't mention this enough. I just love that the Pokédex are Go's voice. And every time someone gets mad at it, it's like if they're getting mad at Go. And it's kind of funny just imagining that. But yeah. Liko almost falls off a cliff, but Florigato uses its little like yo-yo to like catch them and save the day. But Grusha watched all of that and basically scolds her for slacking off right before their gym battle. Then Grusha and his Citadel walk off. Then they head back to the Citadel said place where they learn about Grusha's origins, which I gotta say, they explore this way better than in the games. I don't know if this is anime original or was even in the games. If not, which just shows that Grusha has more character. Grusha was one of my least favorite gym leaders, like besides like really Katie. And like Grusha and Katie were like the two I didn't like the most. I feel like every other character had enough personality shown throughout their battles, while those two were just like kind of bland. But I'm happy to see through Liko's battles, we got to see the more sadistic side of Katie, and we get to see Grusha's origins, plus like how he established his ideals, which we learn in this episode, which we've been getting teased a lot lately, that Grusha is basically the strict teacher who like only praises success and is hard on anything that isn't perfect, including if it is himself who fails. Which I love this concept. And it makes so much sense while Grusha said that weird little monologue to Liko. It's like it's a shame that you're celebrating this small win when it wasn't even a win. You failed, basically, but yeah. Alright, and we learn of Grusha's origins. Like I said, Grusha's origins is basically he was a famous snowboarder for the area on the mountain. But one day, a Citadel accidentally wandered in the middle of the competition, and Grusha, in order to help protect it, crashed and broke his leg, ending his career. And in that moment, Citadel comes to the hospital to apologize, which Grusha just accepts it, and he catches it, which is surprising. And I guess this kind of builds up to the aspect where it's like, oh, Grusha doesn't really respect failure, and even if because it wasn't his fault, it was the Citadel's fault. And he basically ended his career over it, and he's like, I'm a failure, I can't do this anymore, I need to move on. And the ski resort guy even says, I don't know why he didn't just go back to it, but he went to Pokemon training, and with his ideology of success, basically, he basically has become one of the top gym leaders, like the strongest of the region, if you play the game the correct way. But yeah, I love the little aspect that he doesn't get mad at the Citadel and like apologizes, and they become friends, and that's the Citadel we saw him with earlier. And I also just love this like whole origin, and I like this is going to be a weird thing to say, the like more toxic masculinity views of Grusha, which it kind of clashes a lot, because we all thought Grusha was a girl at first, and I like that a major part of his character is this more toxic masculine mindset about being the best and like striving for perfection, and unless it's a pure victory, the result does not matter. I really love this about Grusha. But yeah, the battle between Liko and Grusha begins, where he sends out Titan and Liko sends out Thorgato. I do want to say this here. This battle, strategy-wise, was the best one out of like the last 3 battles. Dots is still my least favorite. Actually, no, the original Roy battle was my least favorite, then Dots, then the rematch. This battle goes between Dots and the rematch of Roy and Rhyme. For reasons, I feel like strategy-wise, this battle was perfect, but just execution-wise, I don't know. At least the first half was Titan. But yeah, they scan the Pokédex to Titan, and it says, "Oh, Titan is this big bulky Pokemon with a strong exterior." And then that's when Liko decides that keeping, similar to Roy last episode, dodging more of its attacks like up front is probably going to be best off. So Liko has acrobatics, basically. Flora gotta use acrobatics to avoid Titan's movement and like attacks, and then getting small hits back in that. But the small hits end up doing nothing, and eventually Titan is able to hit Floragato. So Liko recalls it and sends out Hatena. Where the strategy also is really good with Hatena, but the problem is Hatena gets knocked out immediately. So basically, Liko has Hatena catch the icicle spears that Titan shoots at it, throws it right back at it, trying to weaken the shell, which works. Like, that's actually a really good strategy. Remain far and use its own moves against it. But then Titan like pushes up on Hatterene. No, Hatterum. I still so confused with what these names are for these specific trio. But you know what I love? We see one bit of sweat going down Hatterum's face, but she stands strong. This is not the same Hatena that like episodes ago would like run away from like the first sight of danger and cry, "Mommy, come help me." No, this is a real woman now. She's strong, independent, ready to fight, and stands up for what's right. And then immediately gets knocked down with like a liquidation icicle crash combo. Hey, at least at first it was pretty like decent. But then Grusha had to throw out this crazy Ash level strategy where it's like using the liquidation, going right into the icicle spin to make it more cold, and like Hatena basically froze like right before it got knocked out, if you look close enough. But yeah, Liko then sends out Floragato and does the same thing with the avoiding, and that's when Liko begins thinking, how am I going to break its shell? Hatena was doing a good job, but it wasn't enough. But that's when Liko notices every time Titan goes to charge in, it screams and opens its mouth. Now, using Guardians of the Galaxy logic,
be pierced on the outside. I must cut through it from the inside.
Huh? No, Drax!
So Liko waits for it to charge an attack and use a Magical Leaf right inside the mouth. That was really good thinking. I gotta say, Liko is like the best strategist of the team. Each, basically, of the kids in Horizons have like their own thing they're best at. Roy, it's just straight up battling. But like last couple of episodes actually with Roy's battles, we've been seeing him strategize more and more. And I love that because Roy went from basically the kid who's like, we rush in head first, and Liko has to point out to them what they're doing wrong and how to improve, to now, hey, I can come up with a strategy on my own. And the same thing with Dot. I love how like they all like Dot's like main big thing was I'm able to create a strategy based off my opponent. compared to a strategy based on her own Pokemon, which that's what Liko excels at. Like, looking at her opponent and looking at her Pokemon and using what works with her Pokemon on the fly. That's how Liko's whole method of battle is. I see a weak point. I know what my moves my Pokemon can do to be able to hit the weaker point. You lure it out and use a strategy. This is why I love Liko's strategy. Like, everything she's ever done, like the stuff with, like, when she uses the yo-yo, the traverse, even later in the battle when she realizes, how are we going to get Altaria close to the ground? I don't have any moves that can be super effective. But then Liko realizes, hey, what if we use Florigato to get on top of it and knock it to the ground? Which, skipping ahead, Titan gets knocked out, ? They don't really say if it gets knocked out. It just, like, falls over and Grusha recalls it. So, is it? It was not clear if it was knocked out or not. So, yeah. So, for all I know, Liko just got 2 swept, which I hope that's the case, because that would have made this battle way more interesting. But I'm pretty sure the teachers aren't allowed to switch out, so it's probably out for code, which is so stupid, because it basically got one-shotted. But Liko sees Altaria, and they learn how... And Dot mentioned how big of a threat it is against Florigato because it's flying a dragon type, and not many of Florigato's moves are going to be really effective towards her. But that's when Liko's like, we've done stronger battle. I genuinely thought she was about to say we've had stronger challengers before, and when it cuts to Katie, but she said we've had tough battles before, and then talks about Katie and Rika, and then goes right in. That's when, like, Liko does a little bit of dodging, has Florigato hold back, and Grusha keeps spamming Moonblast because I guess that's probably the best move Grusha could use in this moment. But that's when Liko is, like, jumping around, analyzing the situation, and remembers how Florigato was so good at traversing the air as long as it has a grapple with its yo-yo. So Liko's like, alright, use the yo-yo to pull down Altaria. And like I mentioned before, Liko does this to do damage and knocks it down. That's when Liko realizes this is probably the best opportunity to use Terastallization while it's down and get one big hit with Magical Leaf before it gets back up. So Liko Terastallizes, but Grusha's like, you think this is going to turn the tide of the battle, and immediately Terastallizes, and they have a quick standoff before both shooting out the same attacks. And I love how Dot's immediately like, oh my god, Liko, you have a chance now, because Florigato may be weaker towards ice, but it can still do damage better with its own Magical Leaf than it would have against the dragon and flying type. And that's when Grusha says, basically seals Liko's fate and says, you think just because you have the type favor, I'm going to let you win? And just knocks out Florigato, freezes it solid, and it just, like, goes down. But yeah. Battle ends, Grusha walks off, all the kids head to Pokemon Center, heal their Pokemon, and meet back up with Grusha. And right before then, Roy and Dot were like, oh, blah, 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 you're still gonna pass Liko? Like, every teacher's a bitch and passes us. I'm gonna cut that out of the video, actually. Every teacher still passes us no matter what. Roy was allowed to do a rematch, and Larry still passed me, even though I failed, because I did something, apparently. I showed him how good I am of adapting on the fly, like... And that's when Grusha walks out saying, you shouldn't... I'm failing you, basically. He says, I'm failing you, you shouldn't accept this failure, anything, and it would be quote-unquote cold of him to basically pass Liko without her proving anything. Like, she lost the battle, she lost the battle, she did do a good job, but that's not what Grusha was looking for. Grusha was looking for results, aka a victory. Liko has lost both of her matches. At least Dot and Roy have both won most of their matches. Roy is like 2 for 4. Dot is like 1 for 3. Liko is 0 for 3. And Liko's the best, like, strategic-wise battle. I love how Liko just accepts this. And then while Roy and Dot are like pleading, like, oh, let her rematch. And that's when Grusha drops the hardest line ever. When you're in a battle, there is no rematch. If you lose, you lose. Which I feel like this is going to tie in greatly with next episode, because we know especially with like what these kids are trying to do, fight the explorers, catch the Black Ray Plaza. If they lose, they can die, get all their Pokemon stealing. So they need to realize that they need to win every battle, basically. And I love that Grusha was able to point this out, and then refuses to rematch Liko. He walks off, and Liko accepts this, but is strongly disappointed in herself and is depressed over this. Overall, is such a good message. Everything about this episode was so good when it comes to like Liko, Grusha. That's really it. Liko and Grusha are what carried this episode. Mainly Grusha and like the whole strategic part of Liko's battle is like the best thing. Because like realistically it is a kind of a boring battle until Liko starts pulling out these strategies, like these crazy strategies, and Grusha's like, oh, blah 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 blah. Does something similar back with like the icicle spin, like liquidation combo, and then terrestrializes, but like still overpowers it. Like these moves, there's literally like a good battle, but like I don't know, it's just paced weirdly because like you still got like half the episode left, but like when Hatena's down, and then Titan immediately gets knocked out within like 2 minutes, and like, okay, so is the rest of the battle just gonna be like a long drawn out battle between Altaria and Florigato? And it really wasn't. It was like short realistically. But yeah. Like I said, but yeah, overall, I'm gonna give this episode a 9 out of 10. It was really good. It's just, I don't know, the first part of the battle of Titan just like drags it a little bit down. Like Hatena really couldn't, Hatterum really couldn't do anything. I'm kind of upset that every one of the second Pokemon have gotten like, oh yeah, they get like 2 good hits and then knocked out. Good job, you did a great job, guys. Like I feel like the only one who legit did a good job was Tinkatink, because Tinkatink literally was getting crazy hits on freaking the Dunsparce, but was taken out because this Dunsparce was just stronger. Tinkatink had little experience. Compare that to Kilowattrel, who spammed Spark 6 times, hitting the Greavier, then just got one shot in. But yeah, at least Hatterum got like comboed to like death, and like it was like a strong combo where like basically it was like frozen. But yeah, like I said, 9 out of 10.
Hope you guys liked this video. Liko here. Make sure you like,
subscribe, and leave a comment, Pokemon trainers. That's my Needlefing voice, guys. But yeah, S-Man,
Liko,
Needlefing, and Roy signing off.